Welcome back to that God Power channel. This is the channel where we're going to unlock the God Power that's laying dormant on the inside of you. But first today, what we're going to do is we're going to break down the book of Matthew like we have been doing. And last time we broke down the book of Matthew chapter 25, so obviously this time we're doing chapter 26. So I hope that you guys are feeling good today and feeling great. It's Halloween and I'm trying to do a lot of videos because I told myself I will get the book of Matthew done before October is finished. So I'm going to rapid fire some videos at you and I hope that you love them. Happy Halloween. So let's go ahead and jump into Matthew chapter 26. So chapter 26 begins with Jesus talking to his disciples, and he's like, Passover begins in 2 days, and the Son of Man is going to be handed over to be crucified. So this chapter starts with Jesus predicting his death. And then the leading priests and the elders, they're meeting up at the residence of Caiaphas, a high priest, and they're plotting how to capture Jesus secretly and kill him. But they didn't want to do it during Passover because that's gonna make the people riot. They didn't want to make like the public riot, but they just wanted Jesus gone. But Jesus, he was in Bethany. He was at this dude's named Simon's house, and Simon, it was a man who had leprosy previously, but he didn't anymore. While Jesus was eating, a woman walked in with a beautiful jar of expensive perfume, and she poured it on Jesus' head. And Jesus' homies, the disciples, they were pissed. They're like, what a waste. That could have been sold for a high price and that money given to the poor. And then Jesus he responded to them. He was like, why criticize this woman for doing such a good thing to me? You'll always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me. So she's poured this perfume on me to prepare my body for burial. I tell you the truth. Wherever the good news is preached throughout the kingdom and the world, this woman's deeds will be remembered and discussed. So basically, the disciples thought that woman was doing something bad by pouring perfume on Jesus and wasting it. But Jesus thought, when he taught them that was not a bad thing because Jesus' time on earth is limited. And she was just doing something that she was just playing her role in life, you feel me? And Jesus was like, yeah, no, this is good. She's going to always be talked about and discussed. So just because Jesus said that, that's why I just wanted to put in my 2 cents on what I thought it was. Anyways, going into verse 14, Judas Iscariot, he went to the priest and asked, he's one of Jesus's disciples, Judas. He went to the leading priest and he asked, how much will you pay me to betray Jesus to you? And they're like, we'll give you 30 pieces of silver. And they gave him 30 pieces of silver. And from that time on, Judas, he began looking for a way to betray Jesus. He was plotting, but he was still rocking with Jesus, but he was plotting. So at the Unleavened Bread Festival, the disciples asked, where do you want us to prepare the Passover meal for you, Jesus? And Jesus was like, as you go into the city, you'll see a certain man. Tell him, the teacher says, my time has come, and I will eat the Passover meal with my disciples at your house. So the disciples did as Jesus told them, and they prepared the Passover meal at that dude's house. Like, that's power. Jesus, he was orchestrating some real things. This goes into the Last Supper. The Passover meal in which they're speaking of is the Last Supper. So when it was evening, Jesus sat down at the table with all 12 of his disciples. And while they were eating, he said, I tell you the truth, one of y'all is going to betray me. And they all asked one by one, am I the one, Lord? And he replied, one of you who has just eaten from this bowl with me will betray me. For the Son of Man must die, as the scriptures declared long ago. But how terrible will it be for the one who betrays him? It will be far better for that man if he never had been born. And then Judas asked, Rabbi, am I the one? And Jesus told him, you have said it. I don't know what that means. You have said it. And Jesus basically just told him, yeah, dude, You're the one. And Judas knew he was the one the whole time. And Jesus has been on his foresight game this whole time. So I'm sure Jesus knew. And that's why he replied like that. You have said it. So as they were eating, Jesus took some bread and he gave it to the disciples. And he was like, take this and eat this, for this is my body. And he took a cup of wine and he gave thanks to God first. And then he gave it to them. He was like, each of y'all drink from it. This is my blood, which confirms the covenant between God and his people. It's poured out as a sacrifice to forgive the sins of many. Mark my words. I will not drink wine again until the day I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. And then they all sung a hymn and they went out to the Mount of Olives. So they just had a merry old good dinner. You know what I'm saying? Jesus was like, yeah, this is about to be the end, but one of y'all is about to sell me out. But you know what I'm saying? Let's just sing a song. Let's get it popping. You feel me? And then Jesus was like, tonight, all of y'all are going to desert me. For the scriptures say, God will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I'm raised from the dead, I'm going to go ahead of y'all to Galilee and meet you there. And then Peter declared, even if everybody else deserts you, I will never desert you. And then Jesus replied, I tell you the truth, Peter, this very night, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. You'll deny that you even know me 3 times, dog. And then Peter said, no, even if I have to die with you, I will never deny you. And all the other disciples vowed the same. We won't deny you either, Jesus. Yeah, no, we won't deny you. Judas like, we won't deny you. In the back. And then Jesus went out with them to the olive grove. And the olive grove was called Gethsemane. Gethsemane or Gethsemane. You know what I'm saying? It's a tongue twister to me. But you can read it. Whatever. And he said, sit here while I go over there to pray. And he took Peter and James and John, and he became anguished and distressed. And he was like, my soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. And then he went further and he bowed his face to the ground and started praying. And Jesus was like, my Father, if it is possible, please let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet, I want your will to be done, not mine. And then he returned back to his disciples, and he found them knocked out fast asleep. He said, Peter, couldn't you watch with me for 1 hour? And he was like, keep watch and pray so that you will not give into temptation. For the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And then Jesus left them a second time and went to go pray. He was like, my Father, if this cup cannot be taken away unless I drink it, your will be done. And when Jesus returned, he found them sleeping again. They couldn't keep their eyes open. So he went to go pray a third time, saying, same thing, same kind of prayers he was saying. And then he came to his disciples and said, go ahead and sleep. Have your rest. But look, the time has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Up, let's be going. Look, my betrayer is here. And even as Jesus was saying this, Judas, one of the 12 disciples, arrived with a crowd of men armed with swords and clubs. And this means that either during the time after them singing the song, Judas slipped away, you feel me? And he had these dudes on standby. He was like, yo, Jesus right over here, bro. And during that short period of time, these guards got to Jesus, and Judas led them to him. Okay. Judas, that was messed up, dude. But it had to be done because that's scripture. So, catch 22-ish, you feel me? But that big crowd of people with the clubs and the swords, they were sent by the elders and the leading priest of the people. The traitor Judas, who had given them the prearranged signal, he was like, you will know which one to arrest when I greet him with a kiss. So Judas came straight to Jesus, and he was like, greetings, Rabbi. And then he gave him a kiss on the cheek. And then Jesus said, "My friend, go ahead and do what you have come for." And then the guards grabbed Jesus and arrested him. But one of Jesus' homies, he pulled out his sword and struck the high priest's slave and slashed off his ear. And Jesus was like, "Yo, put your sword away. Those who use the sword will die by the sword. Don't you realize that I could ask my Father for thousands of angels to protect us, and he would send them instantly? But if I did, how would the scriptures be fulfilled that describe what must happen now?" And then Jesus said to the crowd, "Am I some dangerous revolutionary that you come with swords and clubs to arrest me? Why didn't you arrest me when I was in the temple? I was there teaching every day. But this is all happening to fulfill the words of the prophet as recorded in the scriptures." And at that point, his disciples, they just fled. They left, and they deserted Jesus. Then the people who arrested Jesus led him to the home of the high priest, Caiaphas. And that's where the elders and the teachers of the religious law were all gathered. And Peter, one of the disciples, he was actually following that whole crowd, but he was following at a distance. He wanted to see how everything would go down. So inside the high priest, the whole entire council was there, and they were trying to find witnesses who's going to lie on Jesus so they could put him to death. And there's a lot of people who agreed to lie on Jesus, but their testimonies were unusable. They were like bad testimonies. "Yeah, that Jesus character ate my cat. Yeah, that Jesus character did this. That Jesus character..." They can't really use that. So they didn't use them. But finally, two men came forward who declared, "This man," he said, "I'm able to destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days." And then the priests were like, "Well, Jesus, aren't you going to answer to these charges? What do you have to say for yourself?" And Jesus was silent. He didn't say anything. So then the high priest said, "I demand in the name of the living God, tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God." And then Jesus said, "You have said it. And in the future, you will see the Son of Man seated on the place of power at God's right hand, coming on the clouds of heaven." And then the high priest tore his clothing and said, "Blasphemy! Why do we need any other witnesses? You have all heard this blasphemy. What's your verdict?" And then all the people were like, "Guilty, guilty, he's guilty." These are all the people that were plotting against Jesus anyways, though. And they're like, "He deserves to die." And then they spit in Jesus' face, and then they hit him with their fists like they're punching him, and they slapped him, and they're like, "Oh, prophesy to us, Messiah. Who hit you that time?" And meanwhile, Peter was sitting outside in the courtyards, and a servant girl came and asked him, "Yo, you were one of those that was with Jesus, the Galilean, weren't you?" And Peter denied it in front of everybody. He was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." Later on, he was by a gate, and another servant girl noticed him, and she was like, "Yo, this man was with Jesus of Nazareth, everybody." And then again, Peter denied it, and this time he denied it with an oath. He was like, "I don't even know the man." And a little later, some bystanders came up to Peter and said, "You must be one of the ones, I can tell by your Galilean accent." And Peter, really angry, he screamed. He was like, "A curse on me if I'm lying. I don't know the man." Immediately after he said that, a rooster crowed, and then suddenly the words of Jesus flashed in Peter's mind. It was like, "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times that you even know me." And then Peter ran away crying bitterly. He was so mad at himself because he was the one that was speaking out like, "Jesus, I will never, ever leave you or deny you." But easily he did exactly what Jesus told him he would. And that is the end of chapter 26. It was a longer chapter and a lot happened. But the main parts that happened in this chapter is that you seen that one of Jesus' closest homies, he's the one who betrayed him. You feel me? And if you look at society, and if you have ever had, anything like that, you have to keep your circle tight. Watch who's in your circle, because there will be people in your circle that could potentially betray you. In this case, it had to happen because of scripture, and Jesus understood that. But the treatment of Jesus after that is not good, and it just continues to get not good in the next chapter. But thank you for rocking with me on this chapter. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully it touched somebody somewhere. And I hope that if you did like it, click the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, share it with people, because it's good stuff to get out. It's real truth. So again, thank y'all for rocking with me. I'm going to be doing probably 2 more, because there's only 2 more chapters left, 27 and 28. And they'll be coming out real soon. So I'll see y'all in a bit. Thank you. Have a beautiful, blessed day, and happy Halloween once again. Oh yeah. Remember, you got that God power.
Looking at God power. I got the God power.
Tapping the source, calling the vibes. I just thank God I'm alive. I just thank God that I'm fly. I just thank God for my rhymes. Every night, these lyrics they step in my spirit.